Many of us were wrong, very wrong, about Emmett Johnson. But the question is, what should we do about it?
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day.
All right, welcome. It's a Friday mailbag, everybody. Connor Happer here from 1620 The Zone, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Excited to see where the questions go today, considering it's a bye week, but we've had plenty to talk about this week. I think highlighted by the fact, or by Emmett Johnson's Heisman campaign, hovering somewhere a couple feet off the ground at the moment. He'll get another chance to get that rocket ship to go higher next weekend in Happy Valley. So we're excited to see what you got today.
We can tell where the minds of Nebraska football fans are this week based on the number of questions that we received for this mailbag about Emmett Johnson and that Heisman campaign or his 2026 prospects, all kinds of Emmett Johnson stuff here, but we'll get to plenty more in this mailbag.
Yeah, there's a lot of different angles to cover, but let's start with this from Brett Windsor. Did you know that Matt Rhule's alma mater is Penn State? I surely didn't. During Rhule's postgame press conference, how many times do you think he'll be asked a question about how he used to attend the opposing school? What a question.
Good job, Brett. I sensed, I understand the sarcasm here from our friend Brett.
I think so.
In Windsor. Yeah. Oh, I think definitely. So, Brett in Windsor, and then we have
Scott.
We have Scott. Thank you, man. My mind had just completely gone blank. I found out in an email exchange with Scott that Brett is Scott's son. So mystery solved. Good job.
Okay.
And they do have to drive north to go into the United States from their home in Canada.
That's crazy.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's crazy. Also, yes, we did know that. And yes, it will be odd. Not as odd as it could have been, but definitely still a little bit odd, I think, probably for Matt Rhule.
I don't think he's going to get a lot of questions about it at the post-game presser because that ship has sailed and there's not going to be a whole bunch of Penn State media that's flocking to the Nebraska side of the post-game interviews. They take place at the same time. And
it's an interesting angle, though, let's say, I guess Penn State will probably still be fighting for bowl eligibility, assuming they win this weekend against Michigan State. So, there's that angle. There's also not a lot going on with Penn State right now outside of their coaching search. So maybe
there might be some Penn State folks who want to come over and just like get Matt Rhule's take on things. Mm-hmm. And depending on how Nebraska plays in that game, I'm sure Matt Rhule doesn't usually turn down a question, an opportunity to talk about whatever it is. So even if Nebraska doesn't play well in State College, he'll probably still have things to say, although it would be less. If Nebraska were to win that game, Matt Rhule might talk about Penn State for 10 minutes straight after the Nebraska game, knowing that he's obviously staying in Lincoln this offseason. So yeah, it's a TBD situation. I think he'll talk about Penn State quite a bit on Monday at his weekly presser in Nebraska.
Definitely. All right, a couple more questions. The time is ticking before we get like an endless run of Emmett Johnson questions. So here's some other stuff. Adam in Fort Collins, can someone explain why wide receiver routes with Dylan under center rarely include crossing patterns, but as soon as Lateef gets in the game, wide receivers are crossing all over the place and he's hitting them? Is it possible Dylan just doesn't pass to the crossers? It seems like he's always throwing 50-50 balls to the sideline. Maybe it's just me, but I like routes that let receivers keep running after the catch. Good take.
Yeah, Dylan likes the deep fade. I think we know that. We've established that by now. Also, I think that Nebraska simplified some things. I know that Nebraska simplified some things for TJ Lateef last week against UCLA. He didn't have the full plate of offensive offensive plays, and the route trees were a little slimmed down, which turned out to be a good thing for Nebraska, and that was the intention going into it. That's why they did it, and
Be a great thing for Dylan too, by the way, if they did that.
He would thrive in that. I think that he's very accurate and would do well with those timing patterns. And I think sometimes he turns those down. I don't think Nebraska fails to run those routes. Yeah.
He misses a lot, and I think with TJ, a lot of they had used Dylan sort of like a couple times where they had Lateef sort of roll out, and a guy was kind of crossing with him, like parallel with him. Like that's been a good ball for Dylan this year on the run, and it was a good ball for TJ on Saturday, and it will be in the next two games too. So it's not like it's totally different, but you're right. It's way more simplified, and there's a lot going on. And sometimes it's Dylan missing it, and sometimes it is not. It's not being there. Sometimes, it could be a variety of different things. So, but yes, I think that is a keen observation generally from Adam. Here is Noel in Clarksville. Weren't we hearing complaints from the fans about a year ago regarding the lack of production from wherever the Huskers threw a screen pass? Quite a difference this year. What would you attribute that improvement to?
Blocking.
I just generally better receiver play. Like Isaiah Hunter has that's a feel thing. Like you got to kind of maneuver your way through traffic a little bit and catch and block and stuff. So it's blocking. It's the actual like total overall receiver play. Like I just think Nebraska's a better crop of receivers this year.
Some receivers and backs just execute the screen really well. And some who are very good receivers and backs, just that's not their thing. They don't have the feel for it, like you said, in the same way that Isaiah Hunter does. And Emmett Johnson is good at it too. You have to follow your blocks. You've got to be able to read blocks and be patient when you're catching a screen pass. And then I think it's not just the receivers who are doing an excellent job of blocking on those screens. The offensive linemen also are really, you saw Spindler, and we've seen Justin Evans multiple times get out on the edge and hit his mark and spring those screens so that they go for 50 yards instead of 6.
And it's a timing play too. The quarterback's got to get it to him, not too fast, not too slow. Like, so I think Dylan's done a nice job with that too. Those guys are on the same page, and obviously Lateef did a nice job.
Lateef did with the one to Emmett. 56 yards.
Yep. And I thought he had a good one. Well, he got one out to Hunter, and Hunter got friggin' demolished on, and stuff.
I think that's been scouted now. I think Nebraska ran that with enough success in the middle part of the season that it's very much something that defenders are aware of when they are watching film on Nebraska.
No doubt. All right, now to our Emmett Johnson run. We'll start it here and we'll continue it in the next segment. Here is Meg in Omaha. What did the coaching staff the last year or two miss on Emmett Johnson? I could not figure out why he was not playing more last year before the OC change. I know he would not be the short yardage back, but why was he so far down the depth chart? Why was he not doing well in pass pro? Or what do you think it was that wasn't allowing him to get on the field as consistently?
Some of it, I think, was Nebraska needed a new perspective on the coaching side to come in, and that's what it takes sometimes. You saw that with the Rhule staff in general when they took over in 2023, that there were players who had been in the system and weren't thriving, but they needed a new set of eyes and kind of a new opinion to be formed about them. You can look at both of the Bullock brothers, Alex as a receiver and John as a linebacker, who played well in practice and opened the eyes of the coaches, but didn't get opportunities in games until the new staff came in. And I think a little bit of that happened with Emmett Johnson last year, and it coincided with the backs who were ahead of him, Dante Dowdell, Ramir Johnson. Gabe Irvin was hurt last year. You see those guys this year. I mean, Gabe Irvin's playing at Kansas State. Dowdell is at Kentucky and has had some success this year. Ramir, you saw what he did in the Pinstripe Bowl. I mean, Emmett had some good players in front of him, so it wasn't like Nebraska was missing the boat by not giving him all the opportunities a year ago. Some of it was, I think, just Emmett's development and getting better in pass protection. But I do think that the new eyes, the Dana Holgorsen from day one or day 2 or 3, very much liked what he saw in Emmett Johnson.
Yeah, after he learned his name. So yeah, I think definitely he's just gotten better. So like you have to say that first and foremost, credit him for that. But also, like you said, I think, they had a plan of what they wanted to do with Dowdell, and they wanted to do right by Ramir and have him in the game in situations. And then when you have so many mouths to feed, you don't really know what a guy's going to give you with all the volume until you give them all the volume. And Nebraska found themselves in that situation this year. It ended up being a blessing in disguise for everybody, including Nebraska, that he has had such a huge load on his shoulders this year. It's ended up being a really good thing. And I think it's a good lesson for them going forward. Like, hey, you can find one really solid running back, you're in really good shape. And that is hopefully for Nebraska what they'll have next year with Emmett Johnson too.
All right, let's do 2 real quick about Emmett's Heisman campaign before we take our first break. From Brendan, obviously Emmett Johnson is not likely to win the Heisman. Just for fun, I was wondering what kind of unreal stats would he have to put up in the last 2 games to win it? Back-to-back 400-yard games? If he does that, if he gets back-to-back 400-yard games, then I'm saying all bets are off. You can put him in New York and maybe he wins it with a 2,000-yard season. Nobody's running for back-to-back 400-yard games against Penn State and Iowa in late November.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything he can do to win it. I mean, nothing within reason that he can do. If he were to run for 500 yards in the next 2 games, and that would put him at over 1,600, which is also probably not going to happen, then he might get there. He might get to New York. But as we discussed earlier this week, the Heisman is just a different kind of award, and it's about being built up over the year. Almost nobody pops out of nowhere in November and wins that thing. I mean this kind of as an insult to Heisman voters, and then just kind of in the reality of what it is. But I will repeat what I said earlier this week. Most Heisman voters, most of the 880 voters, do not know who Emmett Johnson is.
Yeah. You pay attention to what you have in your region around you.
Talking about retired people, former Heisman winners. They don't pay that close of attention to the sport.
Yeah,
sadly.
And then Greg had Broken Arrow when comparing Emmett to Notre Dame running backs. Remember that Paul Hornig won the Heisman when Notre Dame was 2-8. East Coast bias, still alive and well.
Yeah, 1956.
Yeah, still alive and well.
Different time, Greg. You know that. All right, let's take a break, come back, and we got more about Emmett Johnson, including a question from our friend Patrick, who has a friend in Columbus, and they have something they need to settle about Emmett Johnson. But we have a message right now, do we? Yes, from DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and again recognize an MVP. Who delivered this week? Powered by DoorDash. You can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Nebraska, you guessed it, TJ Lateef delivered in a big way last week. First career start, 236 yards of total offense, 3 touchdowns through the air. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay, only 2 incomplete passes on the whole night in his first start. This performance was not a fluke. In his opportunities this season, Lateef has been on a streak. And just like TJ delivered for Nebraska, DoorDash delivers for you on Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday that you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, welcome back. Segment 2 of the Mailbag. Friday Mailbag, bi-week edition. Let's go to Patrick and Pilger. Patrick says, I have a friend, Gary from Columbus, who I see only a couple times. You talk about him like that? Like we talk
like he's the radio caller.
Yeah. Hey, Gary from Columbus, how are you? It's Connor from Omaha. It's good to see you. All right. Who I only see a couple times a year In July, we were chatting about Emmett Johnson, and he was adamant that EJ was the real deal. He believed Emmett was going to have a huge season. I did not agree. Now I can only imagine the next time I see him, he'll say, "You the doubter." Yeah, I remember you. So my question is, in what fun way should I finally concede to Gary from Columbus, that he was right and I was wrong? Should it be simply a funny gift text or something more embarrassing, like a custom T-shirt? I deserve for it to be rough, considering the lack of faith. Enjoy your bye.
I think he meant you the doubter. I remember you.
You. Right, that's right.
Yes.
You the teacher?
Everybody, like we have come clean many times on this show. We were the doubters. We the doubters, and I was at the very least. I didn't think he had a potential 15
I was there with you
season on him.
Yeah, right.
I didn't think he had it, so he's got it. So credit to him. Absolutely.
I think that you should. Yeah, something as embarrassing as you can get. Like when you think about what people have to do when they're paying off fantasy football bets, go for something like that. Go big or go home, Patrick. I don't know where you and Gary from Columbus meet up. If you guys have a hangout spot that you go to somewhere between Pilger and Columbus, and what that might be, but go there and set the town on fire with however you want to embarrass yourself about Emmett Johnson and your lack of faith.
Almost like a fantasy football punishment, like I didn't think Emmett Johnson was that good. Wear a big sign or something like that,
Yeah. From Steven in Newport News, Virginia. Did you see Pat Forty's 40-yard dash article this week in Sports Illustrated? He's got Emmett in the conversation for the Heisman. Maybe this big Nebraska push is working. Hey, that's good. Pat Forty's a big voice in college football, and I went and checked that out. You're right, Steven. Pat Forty wrote about Emmett and recited some of the stats. He printed some of the stats that came straight off of Matt Rhule's press conference paper. So that's a big win for Nebraska when you can get that kind of pub for your guy.
The PR machine works, baby. Get that name out there. That's why they do it. Here is Vince in Napa. I've enjoyed watching the exploits of Emmett Johnson. We've all enjoyed watching the exploits of Emmett Johnson. Statistically, he's the best Husker back since Amir Abdullah. While I love Amir, I think EJ's style is more similar to Corey Ross. Let me marinate my pork chops with wine. Well done, Vincent Napa, pork chop. Question for you. In 2026, will Emmett Johnson's job involve more Saturday or Sunday work? Is he going to be in the NFL or is he going to be in college?
Well, I think I'm on the record in saying that I think he's going to have a good shot to go to the NFL. So that's where I'll stay. I think that his job more likely will be a Sunday job next season.
I think he stays. I think he likes Nebraska. I think Nebraska likes him. And he'll be paid handsomely to be Nebraska's feature running back next year. So my guess is at this moment is that he stays, and he's got a big lead up to his senior year.
He's definitely enjoying this the spotlight here in this bye week. He had a meet and greet signing down in the Haymarket Rail Yard area on Wednesday night.
Yep.
And of course Tuesday night he was at the Nebraska basketball game in his Heisman shirt, posing with teammates and cheerleaders. So either that can mean one of two things. Either he's trying to take advantage of this because he knows it's fleeting and it's not going to last long, or you can say, no, Emmett really, really loves being the big man on campus right now. So why would he want to forego that opportunity when that can be his role for an entire year, including the offseason? Yeah.
I think that plays heavily into a decision. It all is weighed at the end of the day. But ultimately, like if he gets a third round grade back, it's gonna be tough. If it's worse than that, then maybe they got a shot.
I think what'll be telling is when the next round of mock drafts come out from the people in the media like Mel Kiper and many others who talk to NFL executives. And if you see Emmett shooting up the boards of all of these experts, like if he's in the top 6 among backs, then that's probably a second or third round. And Yeah, that's tough to pass up. All right, let's go to Ben in Alabama. I feel like after several years of Nebraska players missing in the NFL, Emmett does almost as much for the Nebraska program in the league as he does in Lincoln because it's additional proof that Rhule and his staff can develop players well. It's a great recruiting and motivation tool. That, for me, trumps the chance at a great senior year, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What's the cutoff point for, quote, better if the good player stays a year versus better if he moves on and does great things quickly?
Yeah, I think you just, evaluate, the options that you have in front of you when it's time to make that decision, right? I really think that sounds oversimplistic because, like we just said, there's 400 things that goes into that. But like, if you feel like you can come back and go higher next year, then there's countless examples to show that works too. If you double down on yourself. So I don't think there is a right answer to the question. But I like I said, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with Emmett.
If you're Nebraska, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too here with this situation. Like, you want him to come back. Yeah, you want him to come back. I understand Matt Rhule is going to advocate for his player, and publicly and privately, he's going to say, you got to do what's best for you and go, man. Like, the money's there. But like, deep down inside, of course, he wants Emmett Johnson on his roster next year. He would love that for Nebraska. And Nebraska can get all of the benefit of having Emmett be in the NFL and be a symbol for Nebraska football in 2027 that it could get in 2026. So you can get both. You can get him in 26 and have a legit Heisman contender all year on your roster, and then still have him doing great things for Nebraska and repping Nebraska in the NFL a year later.
Yeah. For the record, though, I do think he does a lot more for you when he's on your roster.
For sure.
It's good to be able to sell those things.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Here is Joe and Ashland as we move off of Emmett for the time being. Is there any chance, this is an interesting question, is there any chance the staff tries to redshirt TJ Lateef next year? Assuming Raiola is healthy, he'll be the starter and Lateef will remain the backup. They have a history of redshirting guys in their second season, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, this is not a Riley Van Poppel situation.
Well, I do think it could work out though. I mean, they were he was on pace to redshirt this year, even though he was the backup quarterback, right? Like if you just play 4 or less, not including any bowl games or playoff or whatever it might be, then you can take the red shirt. Right. So it's not like you have to declare it one way or the other. So it could work out that way.
It could work out that way. I don't think it'll be in the plans at all going into the season. I don't think they're going to talk to TJ in June.
It's not like, hey, sit off to the side and no, he's in the plans.
Quarterbacks, and that's if Nebraska has both of them in 2026. And if that's the situation, quarterbacks, they move through your program. Good quarterbacks, they move through your program at a faster rate. Like the best case scenario with Dylan Raiola is that he plays next year and that he goes to the NFL. And the best case with Lateef is that he's here next year, whether he's the starter or not. And then the year after that, he's the starter. And then, you're on to the race between Dayton Raiola and Trey Taylor. Like you're just not you're not able, because of the way that the sport works now, to stockpile quarterbacks and stockpile the eligibility years of quarterbacks. So I think you just plan on playing them. And if something works out where Lateef only ends up in 4 games next year and you preserve a season of eligibility, then great, but it's by no means a priority.
Right. It's not like in basketball, in basketball, you got to tell them before the year, because if they play 1 second, then they're done, so, or then they're not redshirted.
So dumb that's inconsistent.
It really, really, truly is. All right. So let's take a time out. We have still a full segment of questions up on the other side. But first, a word from FanDuel, where the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the association. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. So if you want to get in early, great. If you want to get in late, great as well. Same game parlays, they're an option for you, or Saturdays and Sundays in football, anytime touchdown scores. Plenty of options available for you on FanDuel. It's going to keep you engaged in the football, basketball, whenever you decide to place that wager. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up today, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, here we go. Final segment on a Friday. And yes, I hope everybody enjoys their bye this weekend. We have great football, and maybe by some stroke of luck, YouTube TV and Disney will reach an agreement and we'll be able to watch the best games if you have YouTube TV this weekend.
Okay. All right. I know the time is short. I have a question about this.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about this with my son in the car tonight. You want to watch ESPN. You want to watch college basketball. You want to watch football on ABC. You want to watch college football on ESPN and ESPN2 and all that comes with it. Google just gave you a $20 credit. If you want ESPN for 1 month, everything that comes with it, you can get this ESPN Unlimited app. It costs $30 a month. I'm not here to tell people how to spend their money, but how are you not going out there and spending an extra $10 for 1 month of all of the ESPN content? And then presumably by December 15th, this thing is settled.
It's a principled stance. I have been
really, but don't you want to watch the games?
I have been, inconvenienced by this, and I just want the channels that I paid for originally with the original deal that I have, not to get another app. I want my quad box. I want all the things that YouTube TV offers me, and I will not budge on this situation.
See, I want the games too bad to not compromise my standards, and my principles, whatever they might be, are not going to influence these billion-dollar companies. Neither one of them. They're both in the wrong.
True.
But okay, that's all I have.
You have to stand for something, Mitch. I'm standing for.
I'm not paying the $30. I've got a way around it, but I'm not paying the $30. So,
all right. Here's Trevor in Vegas. I've been thinking about it, and if Nebraska wins at Penn State and beats Iowa, do they end the season in the top 25 of the playoff rankings? Thanks, guys. Love the show. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
9-3 Nebraska. They're in the playoff rankings. Yes.
Yeah, they're in the
playoff rankings on Sunday, December 7th.
Yeah, they might.
The last rankings come out.
They might be in it the next week after they beat Penn State. You know, it'd be pretty close at that point. So yeah, for sure.
If you're not counting that one yet, right?
No, certainly not.
8-3. Yeah, I think there's a chance that would get Nebraska in there. Sure.
Here is Spartacus in Colorado. Love the show, guys. Appreciate how you keep Husker fans level-headed. Ooh, that's a good compliment. I'm curious, how close do you think Nebraska really is to being a playoff contender? Excuse me. For example, if Nash Hutmaker and Ty Robinson were on the roster this year, how many more wins would that translate to? Are they just a couple key players away, or is there still a bigger gap to close?
Probably one. I think probably one. I think you could say that Nebraska would have been able to beat either Michigan or USC if they had those big guys in the middle to stop the run in the way that those teams gashed Nebraska in the run game. So I think they would have won one of those games, just putting Ty and Nash on this team. Yeah, absolutely. And that would have them at 8-2 and in the top 17 or 18 of the rankings. So how far are they away from being a contender? Like probably one win away from being a contender. How far are they away from being in the playoff? That's a different story. And I think they're quite a bit further from actually being a playoff team. There's not a whole lot of scenarios where, like, if this or this had happened in 2025, they would be in December playing in one of those first four games.
They probably would have needed to be 11-1 this year to beat them.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on everything around them, but I won't disagree with that. 10-2, I think, would have given them a shot.
Yeah, definitely a shot. Yeah. So I agree with what you said. Here's Brandon in Lincoln. So he's asking himself. Oh, okay. So he's got questions and then predictions.
He's answering his own questions.
All right. Yeah. So let's go rapid fire. Nebraska, what are the chances, percentage-wise, Nebraska and Iowa combined for 30 points in the season finale?
Brandon says 30%. I'll go higher.
Yeah. I'll go. I'll go like 65%.
Okay. That Nebraska wins the bowl game this season. Brandon says 45%.
That sounds about right. 45.
Yeah, 50%. Right now, with having no idea if Nebraska is going to be a 7-win team, 8-win team, or a 9-win team, you don't know who they're going to play. It's a coin flip.
Emmett Johnson
is the starting running back for Nebraska next season.
I'll go 60.
Okay. Yeah, I like Brandon says 40. I'll say 35.
Okay. Both Lateef and Raiola are on the roster next year.
Brandon says 60, and I'll even go 65.
Yeah.
70%.
Not quite that.
Give me 75. 70.
I'll go with Brandon, and I'll stick with 60. Nebraska finishes the season with a better record this next season than they did this year.
Ooh, no. We're going to talk about the Nebraska schedule in 2026 at some point very soon. No. I don't. I think it's 50-50 at best.
Agreed. And finally, last but not least, Nebraska's ranked loss streak ends at some point but before next year ends.
Brandon said 55 on that better record, by the way. He says 80% on Nebraska's horrible streak ending before the end of next season. It might end on Black Friday. So there's still a chance this year. Iowa's not ranked in the AP poll, and don't go crazy on us if Nebraska doesn't have a chance to end its streak. Although I think Iowa's going to take care of that. Like if Iowa beats USC, then it'll be ranked in the AP poll. And if it loses to USC, then it won't be ranked in the CFP poll. So, but if by chance the Hawkeyes come to Lincoln ranked in the CFP poll, but not in the AP poll, then the streak cannot end that day. By the end of next season, Brandon says 80%. I tend to agree with him. 75%. Yeah.
I would bet yes before every season of the last 10 seasons, and I would have been wrong every time. But maybe it ends in the bowl game too. That would be a weird, kind of deflating way to get it.
It could. Yeah. Let's go rapid fire. We got 5 questions left and about 5 minutes. So from Seth in Milwaukee, does Matt Rhule's confidence in having the money to get whatever players he want come from the upcoming private equity deal that the Big Ten is reported to be involved in?
I don't believe so.
No, because the private equity money would not come in a form it would come to the school, which they're capped. They're capped right for now. They're capped at $20 million. So Rhule's talking about outside money that comes to NIL via the collective and
he's supposed to be talking about the stadium and stuff like that with that stuff.
The stadium would definitely be impacted by the private equity deal. Yes. Yep. 100%. Yeah. From Brett in Omaha, during the Rhule era, the majority of players who transferred away from Nebraska have gone on to have worse careers at other schools. Why do you suppose this is? And then are they chasing short-term deals? NIL to blame. He notes that Nate Borkacher, Grant Seeger, Prince William and Mellon, Daniel Kalin, after his performance last week for Virginia, have had better careers away from Nebraska, not complete careers yet. And then he goes through a whole list of players who have not done as well. DeColdis Crawford, okay. Yeah. James Williams, Jalen Lloyd, Jeff Sims. People transfer for a reason. It's not usually because they're happy and having a great experience at the first school. And I think sometimes those reasons why they may have struggled continue at the schools they go to. They're seeking greener pastures when the problem isn't always necessarily the school in the first place.
Yeah, it's hard to find the fit too. You just never really know how it's going to work out. So it's kind of a crapshoot. Here is James in Winchester, Virginia. He says, stick a pin in it. Any of the new Power 4 jobs opening likely to land former successful coaches like Pelini? No. Fitzgerald? Maybe. Or Mark Mangino? What in the world? No. And all seem to have dropped off the radar. Will any of those guys end up at big jobs this offseason?
Fitzgerald will. I think Fitzgerald will get a job this year. I think he'll get a power conference job this year. James, this is James from the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. We've heard from him before. He wrote in August, he says, to point out to us that we were skeptical about Emmett Johnson being able to handle 25 to 30 touches a game. And he's reminding us of that. Sure.
Wrong.
Guilty as charged.
100%. You got me, as Walter White said. Ted in Wimberley, Texas. Mitch and Connor love the show since we're doing a lot of speculating about the future in the bye week. Let's fast forward beyond bowl bids and portal moves. Have you seen this schedule next year? Home games with Ohio State, Indiana, Washington, road games against Oregon and Iowa, among others. I'm fully on board with our progress, but yikes, is anyone else as nervous as I am? No, you're not alone in being nervous, by the way. No.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. And it's not that I didn't know this, but it's tough. Indiana, Ohio State coming to Lincoln, at Oregon, at Iowa, at Michigan State, at Illinois. There's not a tough non-conference game on there. They don't have a power non-conference game like they've had in the past several years. Ohio, Bowling Green, and North Dakota. So Nebraska will be 3-0 going to Champaign. Well, no, it's not. We don't even know the dates of the Big Ten games yet. Sorry.
Right.
But that's the one that's listed here first. That's alphabetical order.
I'll say this.
Maybe they'll have Ohio State at Memorial Stadium in on September 26th.
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? This is the time of year where everybody kind of starts to panic about that. And I would just caution, just let it kind of work itself out a little bit. And it doesn't mean the expectation is going down. I mean, if Nebraska wins 8 games in the regular season this year, they're going to want to run that back regardless of who they're playing next year.
How about Nebraska's 3-0 and in week 4 coming to Lincoln, this will be the 4th straight home game to open the season like the Huskers had this year after Kansas City. Kurt Signetti in Indiana. What would that be like?
Could be fun. Could be a top 25 battle. Another chance to get off the ranked schneid.
Say it's fun until the halfway through the first quarter.
Wow.
That's not nice.
Already calling your shot.
One of these days, it's all going to come crashing down on Signetti. He's gonna have to pay the piper for whatever deal he struck.
Yeah. And then finally from Kellen in Spokane, Washington, he says, "Born and raised Husker here. I've only been to one game in my life, and I'm planning to travel out to Lincoln next fall for a game. Which home games are you most looking forward to next year? And if you had to pick one game, which would it be?" Listening to the show to and from my way to work, GBR.
Yeah, so we position these questions nicely next to each other. So the 3 non-conference games are out. Maryland is out. We're going to say Ohio State, Indiana, or there is one other home game in conference play, and that's Washington. Well, since you're from Washington, Kellen, other side of the state from Seattle, come to the Washington game. That'd be great. It's going to be nice to see those purple uniforms and Jed Fish in the Nebraska football stadium.
Theoretically.
Yeah, Damon Williams, theoretically Jed Fish. Yeah, you never know with this coaching cycle, but
yeah.
He says he's not going anywhere, so come on.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good pick. The home slate is there's some big names and there'll be some big teams coming in next year, but you'll have those 4 options in conference. So it's next year's a 4 Big Ten home game slate and a 5 Big Ten road game slate. Flips over from this year.
Ouch. Okay, that's all from us today. We'll be back with you on Monday. Thank you for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big Ten. Craig is there to break down the most exciting conference in college sports. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.